have to pick on the floor.
You gotta pick it up.
I'm gonna pick up the pick. Yep. That's a pick me up. Okay. We're starting. I just want to keep going with Purim. From my youngest son and I, we went around for 2.5 hours playing in the shuk.
Wow, that's awesome.
In the neighborhood, and my legs are hurting, and yeah, I was getting around a lot yesterday. I always say I know it's a good holiday if I have injuries afterwards. Simchat Torah, you know, that was when the war started, and it was like so crazy. And really the only times I ever drink anything more than just a little mashke is Simchat Torah and Purim. And Simchat Torah, I don't know why, I was going around and shaking everyone's hand really, really hard. And then afterwards, like, this muscle was killing me, and I couldn't understand why. And it lasted for like 4 months, like, you know, even go like something like this, and then, pick something up, like, oh, it was a good Simchat Torah. I remember years of my tzitziot ripped in the back, and like crazy stuff. And so this Purim, I noticed when I walk over here from work, I was like, Mom, my legs are really hurting me. Mo Hashem. So Purim, the highest light comes down on Purim. This was a very good Purim for me. I mean, I know what's happening on Purim, and I do my best to tap into it. And I think I took advantage of it for the most part. It was an interesting thing. I was learning the mаймar of the Alter Rebbe, Chayav Anish Divasumei, a person has to get drunk. Of course, it doesn't say that person has to get drunk on alcohol. It says a person has to get drunk on Purim. So I decided on my beginning of walking around the shuk, I wasn't going to drink anything before I go. In previous years, I would drink something because it's a little embarrassing to go around the costume with a guitar and shout, "Good Purim!" going crazy. But I'm like, I'm going to make it really real this year. I'm not going to drink one drop of anything. And it started out, and it was like I was completely high. It was amazing. Like when I got to the shuk, I was shouting, and I was playing like crazy, and I was dancing up and down. And that's, there's one of the alcohol stores, Mashkot Nechemia, I go there every year. The guy waits for me. A lot of people wait for me. Like really, they see me coming, like, Barak is coming! And the months leading up to it, you know, like, when are you coming, when are you coming, when are you coming? I told you, the Arab guys are like, hey, Tisha B'Av is coming, you bring the guitar. I'm like, that's not the holiday that we play guitar. Oh, whatever, who cares, Purim Tisha B'Av. So I go into this one alcohol store, and the guy says, anything you want here, I'll give you a taste of anything you want. And the guy is, you know, very expensive stuff. He's like, anything. And I said, I don't want anything. He said, nothing? Like, not even whiskey, I don't want anything. I just want to be drunk on Purim. It's like, wow. Wow. I mean, everybody there is drunk. So it was really awesome. Baruch Hashem. I was learning the mаймar of the Alter Rebbe. Actually, Noga was over here at the Lester's house. They had a women's Megillah reading. Just so you know, they have a women's Megillah reading every year. and they have food, and I know in the morning they have pancakes, and my wife is a big supporter of it, even though she's not like one of those win-with-the-wall supporters, and by any means. So I came home from my notes at 8 o'clock, and she's like, and she's sitting there with my daughter, and like, did you go yet? She's like, no, we didn't leave the house. We didn't leave the house yet. So I'm like, well, we have a Suda at night. We have a meal, like a tablecloth and candles and everything. And I'm like, well, what am I going to start the Suda? She said, when I come home. So I said, okay, fine, I'll wait. I wait till 9:40, and then my son and I had already eaten. But in the meantime, I was learning the Maimer of the Alter Rebbe. And it's a long Maimer. And one of the interesting things he says in the Maimer is that Mordechai wanted Purim to be a Yom Tov, meaning a day that you can't cook or carry or use electronics or anything like that, but the people didn't want it. And you would think, well, by nature, the people didn't want it. It means that we don't want another Yom Tov. Like, it's enough that we have the ones we have. We have to make such an effort. Now you're going to throw another one at us? But really, it was Hashem didn't want it. Because if it was a Yom Tov, you wouldn't have Nisim Bechar. And you wouldn't have all the music that's blasting. And you wouldn't have the parades. And you wouldn't have people driving around. And you might not even have Nishtachei Manot. For sure you wouldn't have Matanot Le'Evyonim. You'd have to give it before. And what's the reason? Because it has to be the ultimate extreme of non-holiness in order for the greatest light to come through. You have to have the rave party on Nisim Bechar in order to have the infinite light that comes down on Purim. And without that, you can only reach Yom Kippur. You could never reach the light of Purim. But if everybody knew this about Purim, you couldn't have Purim. If everyone was on the level that Purim is such a high spiritual light, there wouldn't be enough clouds covering it up for Purim to be Purim. So that's just a little avort about Purim. So I want to say hi to everyone. We have Zahava, and Carlos, and Katie, and Leah, and Yael, and my mother watches every week, and Shina Batsheva, and everybody else that watches. Shalom Aleichem. So, we're learning from Torah, Chaf Daled 24, in the Likutey Moharan. And it starts off with a quote from the Gemara, where Rabbi Yoshua ben Hanania, was asked by the elders of Atuna, of Athens, where is the center of the universe? So if you look in the Gemara, I remember it was an 8b. In what Masechet was it? What did we say? Where is it here? Bechorot. In Masechet Bechorot. So you'll see there's a whole list of questions that the elders of Atuna are asking. One of them was a snake, and how long does it take to gestate, and what happens if a snake bites you? How long does it take for this? What happens if you add salt to water? What happens if you add salt to this? And one of the questions is, where is the center of the universe? And he took his finger and he pointed up and he said, right here, this is the center of the universe. And from that, Rabbi Nachman extrapolates his Divrei Torah. And he also says, you don't believe me? Bring some ropes and we'll measure it. So that's where we started off. And I'll just read the actual text, and then we're going to get into what I wanted to finish last week. Da sheyesh or shehu lamala me nafshin veruchin venishmatin. There's a light that's greater than the soul, the body, and the life force in the body. V'hu or ein sof. And this is the infinite light of Hashem. And even though our intellect is it's impossible for our intellect to grasp it, right? Because it's beyond our physical capacity. And we know just a simple answer. We've talked about this in the past. So we can understand why bad things happen. But we can't understand why bad things happen to good people and good things happen to bad people. And that was the question that Moshe Rabbeinu asked Hashem when Hashem said, ask me anything. And he says, well, why? I don't understand. Why do bad things happen to good people and good things happen to bad people? He said, that I can't explain because you won't be able to live in this world. So there's things that we can intellectually ask, but we can't understand. We can understand why there's good and bad in the world. We can't understand those things. So we have limits of our intellect. I'm sure there's also in math and philosophy and science and all kinds of things that our brain simply can't do. And now we have artificial intelligence. I mentioned once that there were these chemists when GPT came out, so one of the videos on YouTube, there was these chemists. There was some secret chemical combination that it would instantaneously basically kill everyone in the world if you could come up with it, but nobody could figure out how to do it. They trained the artificial intelligence to calculate it, and within a second, it calculated it. And they showed like a blurred out screen. So apparently we can all die now, not just from nuclear weapons. We now have artificial intelligence figured out how to kill us all. So that's something that was beyond the human intellectual capacity, and understanding Hashem, there's a limit to that as well. Nonetheless, redifa de machshava lemirdaf. So a machshava rodefet la'asig oto. The fact that you're going to try to understand Hashem, be'al yedei redifa az asechen masig oto, and through trying to understand Hashem, you're going to reach the level of mate vela mate, which is magia vela magia. It reaches trying to understand, but it doesn't reach Hashem. Dahainu masig velo masig. It grasps, but it doesn't grasp. Ki be'emet efshar la'asig oto. Because the truth is, we can't really understand Hashem. Right? When people say, "Wow, I wish I understood why Hashem did this to me," if you did, then you would be Hashem, and there'd be no reason for you to be in a body in this world. So there's things you're not going to understand. Because it's beyond. Okay, so this is where I wanted to read last week. It's written in Likutey Moharan Lesson. The main thing is belief. Ki ha'emunah hi atchala va'petach va'ashar lichnos ba'avodat Hashem. If you want to have a personal relationship with Hashem, that's what it means, lichnos ba'avodat Hashem. To have a personal relationship with Hashem, and the way you do it is through Torah and mitzvot. You have to have emunah. You have to have faith and belief in Hashem. Ba'avodat Hashem u'ba'asakat elokut, and also in trying to grasp Hashem. V'yasofa tachlit shel kol hayediot v'asagot. And this is the ultimate purpose of all understanding and knowledge in the world. B'bchinat tachlit hayediah asher lo neda. What is the ultimate level of knowing? It's knowing that you don't know. A simple example. A person learns physics. They learn the absolute limitations that we understand in this world of physics. But they know that there probably will be something discovered in the future. They just don't know it now. But because they know so much, they can understand that. I can't understand that. I can just imagine in theory. But somebody who understands it really understands it. But how do they get to the point that they know that they don't know? By knowing first. Shezeu b'chinat emunah. And this is emunah, this is faith. Ki zeu atachlit shel hayediot v'asagot sheyodim u'mesigim she'ei efshar leida klal. This is the point. Zeu, this is the ultimate purpose of knowledge and understanding and knowing and grasping, that it's impossible to know at all. Rak la'amin bo yitbarach. As far as Hashem goes, you can't understand Hashem, you could just believe in Hashem. Okay, so we're going to continue now on the next page. Yevaer ata, now he's going to explain shekidei la'asig mate vela mate, of grasping and not yet grasping. Hagavoa biyot, mate vela mate et ha'or hagavoa biyoter, the highest light that a person can possibly reach. Tzarich davka mitzvot asiyot me'olam ha'asiya hatachton. How do you reach this high place of understanding Hashem as much as you possibly can? Through the practical mitzvot in this world of asiya, which of course asiya means the world of action, the lowest of all worlds, meaning the world that Hashem is most hidden. Ubetnai sheyasu otam b'simcha. But it's not enough just for a person to do mitzvot, and then through doing the mitzvot, they'll come to understand Hashem. You have to do it from a place of simcha. So there are people that go to daven every morning because that's what a Jew has to do. You have to daven, so you go to daven. There are people that go to daven every day because they're excited for feeling a connection with Hashem. And they can't possibly stay in bed because waiting for them is this ultimate spiritual experience in Shachrit. Yeah. I tell you, I come into shul sometimes, I'm like literally ready to run a race and jump through the chandelier and the ceiling. I'm like just really going and going. I put all that energy into the davening. And we get to Shemona Esrei and it's like fireworks are going off. And it's just shachrit. You have to work on it. I mean, that you know the level is there, you can work on it. But if a person every day just schleps himself to shul, so he's doing the mitzvot, he won't be punished for not davening in the morning. But you won't reach this place of really coming to understand Hashem through the mitzvot unless you do it b'simcha. So now if you remember, what we were learning before in Torah Hey was that we had gevura and chesed, we had kindness, and we had stringency. And Rabbi Nachman said, but you have to mix into that mix ava. You have to mix in love. So here he says, you have to bring in simcha, joy. Ki a simcha I hefech ha-klipa. Because joy is the opposite of klipa. Klipa is the husk. It's the remnant. It's the outer layer. It's the negative energy in the world. V'hi zo shemevateret ota. What cancels out the negative energy? Simcha, joy. V'da she'efshar la'asig oto o ha'ein sof. You can't grasp this infinite light. Afilu b'chinat mate v'la mate masig v'lo masig. Even the level of grasping Hashem but not really grasping Hashem. Ela al yedei asiyat mitzvot b'simcha. Unless it's through doing the mitzvot with joy. So can you imagine you're giving tzedakah. And every time you give tzedakah, it pains your heart, which I can understand. That pains my heart as well. But you're like, it makes you depressed. Maybe you could be joyous in it paining your heart. Like you're giving over. I know yesterday I gave away literally everything I had in my pocket. And the walk to Rabbi Gestedner, you passed through the Gra in Shari Chesed. That completely wiped me out. Like whatever I had, everybody was begging in that one little spot there. And on the way back, I didn't have anything. So this one guy, he comes over to me, he's like, I was happy it was dark. It was like 8 o'clock when I was coming back home. So at least it wasn't officially Purim. Everybody puts out their hand, you have to give to them. I'd been collecting 1 shekel coins for like a week. And one of my kids decided he was going to change like 50 shekels from my 1 shekel coins. And then he went to buy candy with it. I'm like, what'd you do that for? Not to start all over again. But I made sure that at least everybody got a shekel. Like some people got more, but everybody got a shekel. And then at some point at the end, this guy says to me, I have this problem. My wife is sick and I'm sick and I have bills and I have this. And I'm like, I literally don't have any cash on me whatsoever. But I took his hand and I said, I'll give you a bracha. You should be healthy. I was blessing everyone to be healthy, wealthy, and wise. Ashirut, b'yut, v'chochma. And if anybody asks, chochma b'torah. Should have wisdom in Torah. So Benjamin Franklin was translated into Purim this year. Healthy, wealthy, and wise, right? Eat an apple a day, go to sleep early, I forgot what it is. Go to sleep early, eat an apple a day, and be healthy, wealthy, and wise. So I'm blessing the guy, and he says to me, you know what? That was worth more than tzedakah. That was worth more to me than money. I gave him a hug. So could I do that if I was not happy? No way, because it wouldn't even come to me. So these are the things that create the personal relationship with Hashem. Shesamech ma'od al zchut hagdola, when a person is truly joyous on the great merit, shehu nivchar al yedei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, liot Yehudi, that the person was chosen by Hashem, the Master of the universe, to be a Jew. Hayachol la'asot nachat ruach v'ta'anug la'Hashem yitbarach al yedei kiyum ha'mitzvot. Where does the joy come from? The joy comes from being born a Jew, because we could have been born a non-Jew. It's funny that the whole world is basically not Jewish, but we call them non-Jews. We should be non-goyim, is really what we should be called. It says, so you can have this great joy from being born a Jew. Why? Because you have the ability to bring joy and pleasure to Hashem through doing the mitzvot. And then he's giving us a forward. What we're going to come to, the Kaman Yevaer, and further down he's going to explain, Elu pu'ulot pu'el ha'adam al yidei asiyat mitzvot b'simcha. These things activate within a person doing the mitzvot with joy. So that was, he didn't see where? No, he didn't see where that is. Uba'ot chet yivaer, and when we get to section chet, he's going to explain Ketzad zocher al yedei ze la'asig et or ein sof. How through doing the mitzvot through joy, a person can grasp the infinite light. B'bchinat mate velo mate, masig velo masig. That you can grasp it, but you can't fully grasp it. So what we learn from that is you have to do the mitzvot with joy if you're going to go further. Now, imagine a person spent their whole life not doing the mitzvot through joy. They did the mitzvot through ol malchut shamayim. It's simply what I have to do. That's a great thing, because the second that they decide to do it with joy, they already have all the mitzvot. It's like an Israeli that becomes about tshuva. It's awesome to see, because they have Hebrew. It's their native language. You stick any book in front of them, they're just going through it. Blah, 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 blah. And they might not understand the concepts, but they understand all the Hebrew. That's one of the great disadvantages. I don't know what happened in America, because I met people from Brazil and from all kinds of South American countries that speak fluent Hebrew. There was this woman, I met her in the shuk. She shows me the coins, and she says to me, which one is the half shekel and the 5 shekel? In fluent Hebrew. So I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. How do you speak Hebrew, but you don't know the coins? She said, I'm from Argentina. And all the Jews in Argentina that got a Jewish education speak fluent Hebrew. So it's my first time in Israel. I don't know the money. It blew my mind. So in America, obviously something went wrong. I mean, I didn't grow up with Hebrew. I just started learning Hebrew when I was in college. But Israelis, they say, oh, wow, and they can go through anything. So a person who is not joyous in doing the mitzvot, the second that they decide to be joyous, they have it. Do you want to ask something? Or are you just stretching? Okay. Ki al yedei simchat hamitzvah nishlam hakdusha. The completion of holiness comes about through doing the mitzvot through joy. Ki al yedei simcha ola shechina im nitzatzot hakdusha me'agalut. Because through doing this joy that's created in doing the mitzvot, it elevates the Shekhinah with the sparks of holiness that are in exile. So the Shekhinah is Hashem's presence in this world. And the example I always give is the light up there. You see the light bulb, and you see the light here. The light here is the Shekhinah, the light bulb is Hashem. So it's still Hashem, like it's still the light coming from the light bulb, but it's filtered down in a way that it's in this world. And we don't have a direct exposure to Hashem, because if we did, the world couldn't exist. I've mentioned it many times. You have to have free will. That's the purpose of this world. So when you do the mitzvah with joy, you're elevating the Shekhinah from the sparks of holiness. Now we learned about the broken vessels. We had a whole Torah that we learned about the broken vessels. This world, the world surrounding it, the world in it, and we talked about the cup and around the cup and inside the cup and all the different things. Hashem's light was so great when it came into this world that the world couldn't handle it. It broke and it spread sparks of holiness around the world. And when a Jew, for example, goes to Vietnam and eats something kosher instead of not eating something, instead of eating something not kosher, that moment they did a positive mitzvah and they elevated the sparks in that place there. Now it's a place, it's time. So, for example, you could say, well, why do I have to go back to the same shul every day? Shouldn't I go to like a different shul, a different daven in a different place everywhere in the world? No, because you're not in the same place that you were before. That moment you elevated what was there. So in doing the mitzvah, you're elevating the Shekhinah with these sparks of holiness to spread around the world. Now, where does the negative energy get its sustenance from? It gets it from holiness. So you're going to elevate the life force and the holiness that's in the negative energy. Because if you did a mitzvah without joy, so you're doing the mitzvah, but you're not elevating it from the negativity. Because you're doing a mitzvah essentially with a type of sadness. So you did the actual mitzvah, but you didn't elevate it until you brought the joy in it. Once you bring the joy in it, you take away the opportunity for the negative energy to draw its sustenance from that mitzvah. Ki kol chiyut haklipot hi menitzotzot hakdusha shenaflu letochan. Whereas all of the life force and the vitality of the negative energy in the world, it's coming from the sparks of holiness that fell into negativity. Shema'aleh et hachiyut hakdusha zo umachzira lemekoma. So when a person does a mitzvah with joy, it elevates the holy sparks that are hidden within, let's say, the sadness. You can do a mitzvah from a place of sadness, and you can do a mitzvah from a place of joy. And so when you do it from joy, you're taking away that opportunity for the negative energy to draw its sustenance from that mitzvah. Ubezeh nishlemet hakdusha. And this is when the holiness of the mitzvah is truly becomes complete. Va'klipot lelo chiyut mitzpatlot mimele. And if there's klipa, if there's negative energy, and it doesn't have a life force, it simply dies out and disappears. So we know that in nature. If you take a slug and you put it out in the sun, it dries out and it dies. So the same thing here, the negative energy, it has to have the moisture, it has to have the sadness, the depression. And especially if you're depressed when you're doing mitzvot, and for sure you're giving a lot of joy to the negative energy in the world and sustaining it. And you can turn it around in a second if you could just do the mitzvot with joy. Uma'alet chiyut dekdusha v'nishlemet hakdusha v'aklipot lelo chiyut. Okay, that we said. V'zeu b'chinat achat asar samanei haktoret. So now he's going to bring in the ketoret. The ketoret is the mixture of the incense offering in the Beit HaMikdash. And there were 11 different types of ketoret. Al yedei haktarat haktoret, by lighting the incense, ubezman hazeh al yedei amirat parashat haktoret. So in our day and time we say parashat haktoret. Ma'aleh et nitzatzot hakdusha shenaflu letoch haklipot. By saying it, you elevate the sparks of holiness that fell into the negative energy. And now he's going to explain it. It's not just as if we had the Ketoret and we're just saying it. There's a reason that he's saying it. Rabbeinu Mechadesh, and Rabbi Nachman is bringing a new concept. She'ota hapchina hi gam kein ba'asiyat kol mitzvot b'simcha. That the same thing of bringing the Ketoret is doing the mitzvot with joy. Vatam, and the reason is ki haklipot hem b'chinat motorot. Because what is klipa? What is the husk? The husk is the leftover hasheriot v'apsulot, the unnecessary thing, right? You have a pistachio, you take off the shell, you eat the nut that's inside, and you throw away the shell. There's nothing for you to do with the shell. Maybe, I don't know, some native people know what to do with it. The coconut, you pull off the husk, you break the nut, you eat what's in it, and you throw away the rest. That is the klipot. So all the klipot are remnants, or leftovers, or refuse. V'hem b'chinat atzvut, and this is connected to sadness. The b'chinat ketuv, now he's bringing a text proof for it, from Mishlei, b'chol etzev yeh motar. In every sadness, there is this klipa. The sadness is essentially creating a husk that you don't really need. Shehem ha-motorot, hanizrakot, hem b'chinat etzev. This leftover stuff that we're throwing away, that's connected to etzev, which is sadness. Vehem tokef hadin, and they are, let's see, b'chinat ha-ketuv b'tokef hadin ha-mabul, shenaaseh al yedei atzvut, k'mo sheketuv v'yityatzев el libo. So I'm not 100% sure what he's saying here. I should have looked it up better. There's something to do with this is the law. That's something during the flood, and through that it came about through sadness. And then he brings a quote from Bereshit, "V'yityatzев elibo," that the sorrow was in the person's heart, and this is explained in the Zohar, Parashat Noach. Okay. יתייצב ליבו, נתן כוח לעדין לעשות דין. I guess gave energy or power for the judgment to do the judgment. Not really sure what they're saying there. ועיקר מקום הרגשת השמחה היא בלב. What is the place where you feel joy? You feel it in your heart, כמו שכתוב, as is written, נתת שמחה בליבו. This is from Tehillim. That you put joy in בליבי, in my heart. וגלות השכינה היא ספירת המלכות. The exile of the Shechina, of Hashem's light in this world, is connected to the sphera. What the sphere is the attribute of Malchut. So we know, I don't think we have the chart here. I don't have the black book. You know the Kabbalistic chart, how it looks like that. So those are the sphirot. And the one on the bottom is Malchut. Malchut doesn't have any energy on its own. It's on the lowest level. Keter is on the top. Malchut's on the bottom. But Malchut receives the energy from all of the sphirot coming down. From all of the light that comes down, all the abundance, spiritual abundance that comes down through the sphirot. Malchut is like the bucket sitting in the bottom, collecting it all. So he's saying, where did I leave off here? That the exile of the Shechina is connected to Malchut. Shehu b'chinat lev, which is connected to the heart. Shehu simchatan sheYisrael, which is the joy of the Jewish people. Ki shoresh asimcha shel Yisrael nimshach me'ashchina. Where does the joy that the Jewish people have? It comes from the Shechina. I guess it comes from us doing the mitzvot and elevating the Shechina when we do it from a place of joy. Ikar galuta she'atzvut shehem klipot govrim aleihem. What is true exile? When sadness, which comes from the klipa, which comes from the negative energy, overcomes a person's joy. So when a person is so sad, you come to them and you say, it's Purim. Say L'chaim. No, I can't. Now, we actually had this happen. And let me finish this paragraph and I'll explain it to you. V'yomkim mimena. So when it happens that it's a day like Purim, for example, and it's a mitzvah to be joyous, and a person wants to be sad, then they are feeding the negative energy in the world. V'zeu b'chinat ha'katuv, and this is what it means when it says v'yityatzeb el libo, that the sorrow was in the person's heart. She'aklipa him b'chinat atzvut, the negative energy is connected to sadness. Hitgabru al shechina, they overcame Hashem's light in this world. Shi b'chinat lev, which is connected to the heart, so they overcame your heart in a sense. V'zeu sheyatzu Yisrael me'agalut, and when the Jewish people left the exile of Egypt, it says in Yeshayahu, ki b'simcha teitzeu, that the Jewish people left the exile with joy. But it also means, if you're joyous, how do you get out of your troubles and afflictions? Through joy. Ki az yitpatlu haklipot shehem atzvut, because through joy the negative energy is nullified. Ve'al yedei simcha, and through joy hashchina tetzei me'agalut, and through joy the Shechina will go out of exile. Ve'ima yetzu Yisrael, and with them will go the Jewish people. So here we had on Purim, the city of Jerusalem wanted to do a parade for the first time in 42 years. I didn't have time to go to the parade, but if it was on B'Tzalel, I definitely would have gone to see it. The hostage families, and I don't know, it kind of seems like the hostage families get bigger and bigger. Everybody identifies with the hostage family, now becomes a hostage family. They went to the mayor of Jerusalem, they said, you can't have a parade. We're too sad. Can't do it. So he's a politician, so he said, okay, fine, we'll take out some of the musicians, we'll take out some floats, we'll change the name, we'll have, I don't remember what it was, 171 yellow ribbons for the 171 days they've been in hostages, and they're doing the whole thing. And then it's amazing. So instead, really what the mayor should have done, if he was a chassid, and he learned Rabbi Nachman's lesson, he would say, you're right. It is a horrible thing that people are being held hostage, We need to add more musicians to the parade. We need to make it happier. We need to get more people to come and dance. And he would call it, instead of Ad lo yada, he would call it Ki b'simcha tetzeu. Through joy, the people will be taken out of exile. They'll be brought back home through joy. But they're not Hasidim, and they didn't do it through joy. And then, I don't know if it's a direct connection, but as I was preparing the lesson, I was like, wow. Now the United Nations passed this resolution telling us to stop the war. Israel feels like there's no reason to negotiate because now Hamas decided that they're going back to their original plan, which is the only way they'll release the hostages is if the war is completely stopped and we leave Gaza completely and we give them all the aid they want and we have international guarantees that the war will never start again and Chad Gadya. And maybe things would have been different if people were able to overcome their sadness on that day. Now, I'm not talking about the actual families. I think it would be great if the families themselves were strong enough to really be happy. But when somebody is going through real pain, you can't go to somebody who's, God forbid, somebody close to them died or is being held in Gaza and say, be joyous. But the mayor could. The mayor could say, you be sad, but we're going to be joyous. And that's where we had an opportunity. So whatever, there's more opportunities. Every day there's an opportunity to be joyous. Ki b'simcha tetzeu. Anytime a person, I've talked about in the past that there's Yisuim Shen Ahava and Yisuim Shen Emet, and we've talked about it in Rabbi Nachman. There's afflictions of love, and there's afflictions, true afflictions. And how do you know if what's an affliction of love? You get a lien on your bank account, you fall and you cut your knee. Those are afflictions of love. Rabbi Nachman says Hashem is causing you suffering for tikkun, for fixing something. And it's in a way that you can still daven. Yisuim shel emet is when you're so either suffering or so sick, you can't daven. As long as you can still daven, you can be joyous. I'm wondering if I had corona twice. I'm assuming I had it twice. First time I had corona, I definitely had corona because back then they were checking everyone. And I was in bed for 4 days. I was literally dancing in bed. Like anytime my wife would come and be like, you're okay? I'm like, I'm amazing. Oh, I'm so happy. Because I was just so happy to get it over with. It was like this huge thing looming. And I had done everything you're not allowed to do in every way possible. And I didn't get sick. And then I finally got sick. I'm like, thank God. And if a person is able to be joyous, even in answering a question, somebody comes and says, how are you doing? You say, Baruch Hashem. My chavruta, he likes to say, and he's quoting his father, he says, Tikkun kazeh od lo haya li. A fixing like this I haven't had yet. When he's really suffering, that's how he says it. Tikkun kazeh od lo haya li. And so it's your attitude makes a difference. It doesn't just make a difference from a psychological point of view. It actually makes a difference. ובשביל זה, שעל ידי הקטורת מעלים את הקליפות, מהקליפות חיותם, that through this, or because of this, through the incense offering, we elevate the negative energy's life force, את ניצוצות הקדושה של השכינה שיש בהם, the holy sparks that are within the negativity, as it's written, כתיב בהם, and Mishneh Ketoret Yisamach Lev. The Ketoret made a person happy. Ki al yedei Ketoret, through the incense offering, mitpareret ve'ola kedusha me'aklipot. That's when we're literally taking, there's a negative smell in the mixture of the Ketoret, and we're literally mixing it in and elevating it. We're taking the sadness and we're elevating it through joy. Ve'ein la'klipot me'echan nin'ok, the negative energy doesn't have anywhere to draw its sustenance from. Ve'ein mitpatlot, and they're nullified. Hainu, that is to say, she'atzvut, shehi aklipa mitpateret, sadness is from the negative side, and it's nullified. Ve'az na'aset etzel hashchina simcha, and then it creates joy with the shchina. Okay, so we're going to continue next week there. There's more to say, and there were some footnotes to read, but we're getting close to the end of the time, and I want to tell a short story. Anyone have a question? You want to ask a question? Okay. Anyone that wants to ask a question here, early to bed, early to rise, makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. Thank you, Al. Al grew up, like, I know she was in Los Angeles and around the world. Her father was the ambassador of, I don't know, Holland, was it? Something like that, and the consul general in Los Angeles. And so she has all these American phrases from her travels. Her parents should be healthy. Okay, so Rabbi Yaakov Landau, I'm assuming that's how you say his name. They wrote it here, Landau, but it's probably Landau, was a chassid of the 5th Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Rebbe Rashab, who of course was the father of the 6th Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Rebbe Rayatz. These are the Lubavitch Rebbes. And the Rebbe really liked this Rabbi Landau and made him what they called the house rabbi, which means that the Rebbe was busy. The Rebbe couldn't answer questions, halachic questions, but this Rabbi Landau would answer halachic questions. If something was kosher, if it was permitted on Shabbos. And so Rabbi Landau and the Rebbe Rashab became very close. And in addition to being a great scholar, Rabbi Landau was also, he dabbled in home remedies. And there was a breakout of typhus in Russia at the time, at the turn of the century, and Rabbi Landau had some treatments for helping people with typhus. And the doctors were very happy because they couldn't treat it, and they didn't want to go next to somebody with typhus. And this rabbi treating hundreds of people, and eventually he got sick himself. And his treatment worked on him, but it took him a few days until he pulled out of it, and it took him a few weeks till he recovered. And while he was sick and at home, the Rebbe Rashab passed away. And Rabbi Landau wanted to see the Rebbe Rashab, and he was still too sick to go see the Rebbe. And he would ask the Chassidim, where's the Rebbe, where's the Rebbe? I want to talk with the Rebbe. And they said, oh, the Rebbe is fine. They decided to lie to him, tell him the Rebbe is fine, because they figured if they told him, it might harm his health. But he had a feeling that something was going on here. And eventually he found a chassid who didn't know about the deal. And he said, where's the Rebbe, where's the Rebbe? He's like, what do you mean? You don't know where the Rebbe is? The Rebbe died. And it hit him really hard. And it was like losing more than a spouse for him. It was like losing really his guide in life. He so relied and leaned on the Rebbe. It was a huge, devastating blow for him. I can understand. I had my rabbi, who was my mashpia, wasn't even a Rebbe. He was my spiritual guide, passed away 6 years ago. And for the first year, I was very sad. It was a very, very hard year. And I can only imagine somebody who's very close to a Rebbe, who's on an even higher level. He got to the point where he decided that he didn't want to be in this world without the Rebbe. And he found one of the Chassidim. Oh no, was it one of the Chassidim? Yeah, he found one of the Chassidim. He said, listen, I'm writing a note here. Please take it to the Rebbe's grave and put it on the Rebbe's grave. So he writes on the letter, he doesn't want to be in this world anymore. He's too sad without the Rebbe. He can't handle it. He's asking the Rebbe to daven that Hashem take him out of this world. And so the chassid puts it on the grave. And a couple of days later, the Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak, who was going to eventually become the Rebbe Rashab, the 6th Lubavitcher, Rebbe Rayatz, 6th Lubavitcher Rebbe, he comes to the Rabbi Landau to visit him, Bikur Cholim, to visit somebody who's sick. And he says, I saw your note on the grave, and my father came to me in a dream last night, and he gave you an answer to your note. And so Rabbi Landau sits up in bed, and he's like, he's ready to leave this world. And the Rebbe Rayat says to him, my father said, stop asking stupid questions. So that's how the story officially ends here. But really, we know that the tzaddikim are on a higher level in the world to come. They're able to accomplish more in the world to come than in this world. We also should learn that even though sometimes we get really depressed, don't think stupid things like you need to leave this world. Okay, we'll continue next week. Be'ezrat Hashem. Allah, 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 Have to get ready for next forum. You got a whole year to get ready.